Dear Venerables, Dhamma friends, today also we are going to have a Dhamma talk. May everyone settle down for this Dhamma talk and give the consent with 3 times sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. Namo tasse bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhasse. Namo tasse bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhasse. Namo tasse bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhasse. Punnaca parang udaayi mama savaka adipanyaya sambhavanti ti. Dear Venerables and Dhamma friends, today also we are taking this quotation from the main Sutta we have selected, namely the Sakuludaayi Sutta. At the beginning, the Sakuludaayi, or sometimes the shortened form it is known as Udaayi, give his view or his judgment regarding the Buddha's fame or honor and the reverence, and why disciples are live independence upon Buddha. And he says these are the qualities, and he enumerates 5 qualities, and then Buddha, not vehemently negating it, then he pointing it out. It may be partially the truth, but that cannot be. If it is so, all the disciples cannot venerate me, revere me, honor me, live independence upon me, because if you say I am eating less, I know there are some disciples still eat lesser. So that disciples should not have any kind of respect or veneration, need to live in dependence upon me. And accordingly, if I am to say that I am very much contented with the whatever the robes I am getting, and I am praising it and appreciating it, I have my own some disciples, they are still very, very austere. And if someone is going to say, I am being so respected and venerated because I am depending on the alms rounds, I have some disciples, they are strictly bounded by this regulation. With me, I am sometimes it is compromising. And if you are to say that I am being so venerated and honored and all kind of things because of I am living in whatever the dwelling, you can see there are some disciples, they never accept any roof, they live on a tree or caves, still they venerate me, still they respect me. And as far as the solitude is concerned, there are some, they never associate people, never utter a word, and completely go for solitude. Some exemplified disciples are there, still they venerate me, still they respect me. So after that, we are being pointed or adverted to the exact point of the discussion, and then after making that groundbreaking and preparation, now Buddha is presenting himself, Udaayi. I also have a reason, 5 reasons, why the Gautama, the Buddha, recluse, is being respected and venerated and revered, and so much of disciples live in dependence upon me, just like other contemporary teachers. I think because of my virtues, because of my morality, because of the sila or sila sikha, I am restrained by this one. So in that respect, no one can come in par with me, and I am always superior, excellent. So therefore, I attribute the respect of the close associated disciples 1/5 is due to my virtues. And then Jnana Dassana, knowledge and the vision. And there also the Buddha give reason. When I say I know, I really know it, not without the knowledge. When I say I see, it is actually I have seen, not without seeing. Whenever I am telling that I have the direct knowledge, it's exactly the direct knowledge. When I am telling something with the solid base, sound base, not without that. And what I am telling is verifiable. Or you can check within yourself. So that is how I say I have the knowledge and the vision. So with that respect, the disciples are living dependence upon me. So that much is the summary of the last few talks. Today we are advancing. The Buddha is giving his third character or third excellent character, why the close circle or the disciples are venerating him, respecting him. And each and everyone you can see, nothing unhuman, nothing celestial, nothing supreme. It's a matter of restrainment. So therefore, if someone wish, they may not be come up to the level of the Buddha, but they can definitely be more cultured, more gentle, more uplifted, and more restrained. So that is the message we can gain it. Not that we are going to give a competition to Buddha. We are learning. If we wish to be with other people and to not to get disheartened, not to get tarnished, and not to get blamed by the others, these are the things you have to cultivate or restrain yourself. The third one is the wisdom. He says, the supreme element of wisdom I am having, so therefore the disciples are venerating, respecting and honoring and live in dependence upon me. And that is the today's talk. So therefore, we have to understand, just like the early two issues, we are not going to give a fight or competition to the Buddha. We have to ask, the way the Buddha expressed himself, are we also, being his disciples, respecting him, not as a supreme being and he is the only person having wisdom, we can't, and therefore we are superior, we are inferior, we cannot fill the gap like, not that kind of a negative feeling, but the Buddha is enumerating how he is, not by mere telling that I have the supreme element of the wisdom, he explained it, how the wisdom is being implemented. So in the Buddhist teaching, there are three kinds of wisdom. When you go to the famous stanza, you find in the Visuddhimagga, the path of purification, the basic one is the quotation from the Samyutta Nikaya, Devata Samyutta, Sile patitthaya narosapanyo chittang panyancha bhavyang atapi nipako bhikkhu so imang vijate jatang. Whenever you get entangled, internal and external, it is ever perpetuating, never get released. This is what the world is. So one of the deity come and ask the Buddha, Anto jata bahijata jata jatito paja koko gotam puchami ko imang vijate jatang. When everything is getting so much of entangle, I would like to ask Venerable Recluse Gautama, how do you come out with a suggestion? Then he says, for that the particular person should have three restraints: wisdom, the virtues or morality as a restraint, and the concentration as a restraint, and the wisdom. So there's a one time you mentioned Sila Samadhi Panya, that is Sile Patittha. It is starting with having virtues established, a born wise person. The first sentence says, the person with the inherited wisdom take morality or restrainment regarding the morality, that is the qualified man to understand internal and external entanglement and both. So therefore there's a one kind of wisdom explained as the one born with. Some people are wise. They are being known as Medhavi. Medhavi means is from the beginning they are wise people. That is, we can say they are different in RNA, DNA, and genetically they are wise people. So it's a one kind of wisdom. Sile Pasitta and Arosapanno Chittam Panyancha Bhavyang. After establish he or she in the virtues, he cultivate concentration and the wisdom. So now we are mentioning about the wisdom which is we are developing by training. That's the second type of wisdom. And that by management training, giving all the kind of training, we gain concentration, we gain wisdom. That's a second kind of wisdom. Atapi nipako bhikkhu, and he must be ardent in energy, very diligent. Nipako, that kind of nipaka panya means practical, appropriate, according to the circumstances, he must know what to do. That is not born with, that never you learn in the classroom. Whenever the circumstances arises, he know what is the next best. That appropriate technology, in the technological point of view, that is the critical factor we can control here and now. Because our born wisdom is a given data, we can't change it. It's already decided. So some people accordingly disqualified. Some people are qualified that you can't change. And the second thing is training. It depends on your teacher. It depends on the system. It depends on your circumstances. Some partly you can responsible about that. But how to make use this original wisdom and how to apply what you learn in the classroom when the situation arises, that is kind of a appropriate technology or appropriate knowledge, that is known as Nipaka Panya. So that is the part we have our own will. By our will, we have to understand when to apply and where to apply and whom to apply. So that is, for the moment in the world, is less than Montessori level. No one take responsibility about that. They find fault with the teaching system. They find fault with, I am a born fool. Or I am not a wise. But appropriate technology, not even the teachers, they know. Because our education is completely linear system. That linearity is killing our creative thinking, because our brain is working in a three-dimensional way. But the education is linear. So more and more you educate, more and more you corrupted. Sorry. This is the way. So more that when we were doing, I was doing agriculture, and I know I never get first class, never. Or second upper, never. Second lower, no. I know it is hard for me to get the third class degree. And in the batch, my batchmates, they were studying and we call cramming even on the toilet. So reading. One day one person dropped his key into the toilet pit. Because he is reading. In my case, I don't care whether I get passed or not. It's a responsibility of the university. They have to give me the degree. I will do my jokes. So when it is happening, there were two people fighting for the first class. And meanwhile, there's a research finding came out. There's an Agrarian Research Institute. They found first class people are very poor research people in agriculture. So they decide to take the second class people. Second upper and second lower. I am also not a candidate even. So I was so happy because agriculture is a practical job. When you get the first class, you simply become disqualified. But you are very good in the computers and blackboards and graphs and all the kind of thing. But they can't give a fight to my father because he's a born farmer. He's much, much better than any professor. So that is what, you may be very wise by birth, and you would have gone to the good university and good academics and get the systems, but how to apply? So poor. So that is why we get together and we learn it, because we know how much the knowledge you have, when to apply, what is the dosage, and how to apply. You can't write technical language or technical writing on this Nipaka Panya. So that is something in good vibration, by associating practical people, by associating pragmatic people, you learn it. I only appreciate this Boy Scout and Girl Guides. This is the only organization on the earth teaching to how to apply you what you learn. And they make opportunities, go to a forest and start a jamboree and appropriately apply it. So this is what now present education is, sorry to say, it is going negative. So therefore the Buddha, he says, I have all the three kinds of knowledges. I have my opening balance, very good. I came to this birth with wisdom, and he got a lot of education, and many contemporary key princes and prince and the kings had doubt about Prince Siddhartha's ability, and that is how when the bridegroom Yasodhara is being presented, his father-in-law told, no, he is born as a prince, brought up in the palace, no knowledge he is having, so therefore I am not happy to give my daughter. So it happened him to show all the colors, how to handle an elephant or a horse or archery, how to use the sword, all the kind of thing, and he won Yasodhara by showing it. Till that no one knew. But both of these, all these two kinds of knowledges, we can, specifically the second kind of knowledge, even without that knowledge you can buy degrees now. There are academic organizations, you can buy it, and when you go there, the other people never test you. They go through your certificates and give the job, sorry for the honor of the company. So now the Nipaka Panya is completely different issue. It happens and it occurs, it manifests whenever the situation arises. So the Buddha says, I have that knowledge. So therefore, when I am giving any assertion or any kind of a judgment, I know the consequences in future going to happen. So therefore, whatever the decision I am taking, I am responsible. So therefore, my disciples are the proximate people, knows whatever the decision, assertion I am making, I have the forward looking, I know consequences. So that outside people do not know. You have to very seriously follow, consecutively follow the master, then only you can understand whether he take ad hoc decisions, or whether he make irresponsible decision, or even if he is taking a wrong decision, can he cope up with that? So it's one of the very great thing the Buddha is enumerating. Whenever it happened to make a decision, I take a decision, but I have my responsibilities, and I can foresee it, and it is happening through that knowledge. So therefore, my disciples are venerating, revering, respecting, and live in dependence upon me, because that is very rare thing. Very rare thing. By close association of the teacher, only you can get that grace. It is not a grace in terms of aesthetic part. The way it is happening. Nothing planned. Everything is happening, but he knows what to do and when to do, and consequences are foreseen, and he is ready. And the second part, the Buddha says, when the Buddha, the director Gautama, was living, there were 6 other very renowned, very famous masters. They are also getting all the supports, and they have their own teaching. They have their own the methods, and whenever they profess, they usually challenge the Buddha. Your method is wrong, my method is correct. When such a thing happens, the Buddha says, I can confront them without any kind of a problem. The way I disprove them is not emotional. With reason only I negate them. I reason them out. So my disciples, they would have been earlier in other masters. And now they come to me, and when again they are coming and fighting, the way I am reasoning it out, the way I am going for the argument is not emotional. I have no one-upmanship. I do it with the reasoning. For example, the Moggallana and Sariputta, both were the disciples of Sanjay Bellatiputta. And they were the chief disciples. Ultimately, they were not happy. One day they went to a comedy show, and many people are going there and drunkard, and overnight they are happy party, go show. And they were so desperate and they were so disgusted. They thought, this is the society. Shall we go in search of the truth? When they go there, they met one of the early disciples of the Buddha, Venerable Assaji, and Venerable Assaji gave just a glimpse of the teaching of the Buddha. When they come back, the Buddha gave them the convocation, telling you are the main chief disciples. And then onward, Sanjay Bellatiputta was so bitter with Buddha, always attacking Buddha. And one of his disciples only, going with the team of the Buddha and the disciple, and throughout the journey is find fault with the Buddha, guarding Buddha. And his disciple telling, no, Buddha is not so bad. He is reasoning, and that is the beginning of the first sutta, Brahmajala Sutta. When such a thing happened, Buddha never confronted that particular person, but his disciple when come and say, Bhante, we were traveling, and they were coming behind, and throughout that, the disciple of the Sanjay Bellatiputta is finding fault with it. But his attendance is, no, Buddha is very fair. And we listen throughout the journey. Then the Buddha gave the answer with the 42 kinds of wrong views. So it's very big, and it says it's a Brahmajala. It's a pervading net of the Supreme. And when that happens, Buddha says, I am not using manpower, manhandling. I never get emotional. I do not want to defeat him, but I have a reason. So I am reasoning. So therefore this Nippaka Panya, or this appropriate knowledge, or practical knowledge, is the most lacking thing, I think, due to 2 reasons. One thing of the education system, which is the highest for the moment, so everything going the linear. Second thing of the technology. Due to the technology, people never use their brain. They are completely luxurious, pressing buttons, this and that. Ultimately, they calculated, one day, if the snow cap of the northern pole is going to melt, they will gradually increase the water level in the equator, and then the balance of the earth will be upset, and it will shift the orbit. And there will be a utter calamity in climatological differences. And we are going to a different electromagnetic field. Then no calculators are working, no computers are working. All the present day electromagnetic system will be upset. Then again we have to count 1, 2, 3, 4 by fingers. And imagine present day generation, can they do that kind of calculation? Never. They always so accustomed to calculator. They are doing very high degree calculations, but they do not know the base. And they are going for high potential medicine. They don't know the trees living there, the herbal medicine. They are completely living in luxuries. They can't walk on the earth. We have to teach them. We don't know where barefoot traveling. So this is the way it happens. So therefore, one person mentioned, the Buddha, when he is doing his duties for 45 years, he never used slippers. 45 years. So imagine that we are to travel without slippers and kind of thing. We can think about. So this is what you call the appropriate technology, not that you are talking against the facilities, not that you are talking against the technology and the high degree knowledge, but your connection to the earth, connection to the present moment, connection to myself. Here, now, I am utterly lost. I don't see that it was a highly diligent and mindful during the time of the Buddha. At that time also the situation is this. But even so we are so technology advanced and communication is good and we are thinking about the benefit and the benevolent or well-being of everyone. You can see what is happening because no appropriate technology. So as a yogi or as a practitioner, I will specifically say Vipassana yogi, what are the specific events or hurdles in your meditation where your Nippaka Panya, the appropriate technology only can give you the improvement. If it is not so, whatever the wisdom you endowed with your genetical or with birth, or whatever the colossal understanding of the Tripitaka and the canonical understanding, no use at all if you do not know how to apply. So that practical or pragmatic or appropriate knowledge, very difficult to communicate. Even then, I thought of sharing few incidents to understand the theory and how to apply and how to not to apply. That is the most important part. Each and every tool has a time to apply, and when it is not there, you understand this is not the tool to apply. You must know it is just a tool. Not that throughout you can to use the same tool. Likewise, in the meditation, yesterday we talked about the individual characteristics and the common characteristics. Some may find very difficult to grasp the idea. It is like separating the individual wave in the ocean and the ocean as one unit. Ocean represented by waves. You never can see even the Pacific Ocean have waves. Other oceans are much bigger waves. Pacific Ocean is Shantikara Sagare in Sri Lanka. Use English singular language. Shantikara Sagare is very calm and quiet. Still you have waves. Otherwise, no, you can't see the wave, the sea without the wave. And you see waves. These are the individual characters. It's a manifestation of the big ocean. And the ocean itself is one unit. So the connection between the individual wave and the ocean, because both of them are water. So likewise, whenever you take a primary object, in order to do away with this varietal entertainment, you must have a reason. Because varietal entertainment, you can only taste the superficial area. It is shifting from one object to object, so therefore there won't be any penetration. So therefore you have to deal with whatever may be the prominent, frequent, conspicuous object. And you select it, not that it is Nibbana, not that it is going to give the pleasure, not that it is going to give the all the kind of answers, but it is answering the varietal entertainment, so you can come to one particular object. And that must be materialistic object, and that must be very neutral object, that must be object verifiable. That is what you call vipassana. So the Buddha presents your own body. Whenever possible, keep the attention to your body. So body has 14 ways, in particular Satipatthana Sutta, to look at the Kayanupassana. One of the 14 methods is the breath. Breath is 1 out of 14. So there are a lot of other things. Overall you see the body. And to make the event very sharp, or to be short to the point, I would take in-breath and out-breath. When and where you select in-breath and out-breath as your primary object, I am taking example. Don't think that I am prescribing that is only the object. A lot of objects are there. So we take in-breath and out-breath as the example in sitting meditation. So if you wish to highlight in-breath and out-breath, or advert your mind to the in-breath and out-breath, there's a methodology called the noting, or applying thoughts, or labeling. That's called manasikara. Manasikara means that a lot of objects are there, 1001 objects. Whatever the thing that you wish to advert your mind, you label it, you name it, you do vitakka. So, Upanishad Sayadaw says, when we were attending to the school, beginning of the second period, class teacher come and mark the attendance. And you call by name. When the teacher says Sarat, he has to raise the hand and say yes. And Sarat, when the name is called Sarat, Nimal can't raise the hand because teacher knows. So, and then first Leela, Kamala, Champa, Leka, Bhanumati, Nayana, Sandaleka, all the names are called. Then teacher knows so much attendance, so much absentees. So that is happening by raising hand, by calling by name. So when the name is being called, no other person can respond. Specifically with the class teacher. So likewise, when we are in the meditating, sounds are there, thoughts are there, pains are there, breath is there. Whatever may be, if you keep on calling in-breath, as the in-breath happen, in-breath, there's more chances for your noting mind and the noted object in-breath come face to face. So therefore we call this applying thought, or vitakka. So Mahasi system is exactly tackling this point. That's why I am happy with that. It's giving the good access to any beginner. So when you have to say, if you have any problem regarding wandering mind or thoughts or pains, the simple technique is you sit, and when and where the mind is happy or frequent with the breath, note as the in-breath happen as in-breath, or call it by in or out. When it is happening, if the thoughts are disturbing, you can say in. When the out-breath happens, if the thoughts are coming and disturbing, you can say out. So whatever may be, when you are applying, to the point, to the energy, to the exertion you do, you can have a kind of a relationship. These are simple techniques. So when it is happening, if you wish to keep that object more immediate with you, more close with you, more and more close noting, the object, noting mind and the noted object, kind of a closing happens, kind of a proximity happens. So when that happens, due to your efficiency in this noting, due to your efficiency in labeling, when it is happening, after a while, both of them develop an affection or affair. Supposing that you have a powerful magnet in your table, on your tabletop, and you are nearing a pin or a needle to the magnet, after a while it sucks it. Whenever it comes to the area of the magnetic power, till that you have to push it. When you are pushing, after a while you feel it is sucking, after a while it sucks it. Like that, when you are noting, in breath as in breath, out breath as out breath, you can take any object, I am taking this as an example. After a while you can say, even without noting, you can keep in breath, out breath with the noting mind. When that happens, or we can say, till that we are using the initial energy, exerting energy, noting and try to keep it. Whenever you try to pull in power, you see even without noting it happens, and then you can see, let the mind and the object develop the friendship or affair, you can slow down noting and see, still both can go in the parallel or symmetrical or in the equal frequency. If it is so, you can try mindfulness without noting. So when to do it, no technical writing is possible. Because whenever such a pull happens, if you're going to keep on noting, your concentration will be disturbed. You will be exerting too much energy, so perplexity of the mind can happen. Mind become agitated. If you start beforehand, still wandering mind can disturb you. So therefore, when to understand or when to stop, you can't ask the teacher. You can't write it in such a precision. So you have to do trial and error. When you are doing the trial and error, definitely it is not a crime. That is called noble quest. That is called Arya Paryesana. You do little noting and then again, if it is working, you leave it aside. If it is not working, you start noting. So when it is happening, after a while you can see, you can put the machine into autopiloting. Automatical noting happens. So when the vitakka vichara or vitakka, applying thought is given, that is the way you tackle or you develop the relationship with the primary object. More and more they become closer, primary object and the mind, less and less infliction from the external distraction. That the beginner cannot understand. It is a theoretical fact. So therefore, more and more you apply into that, less and less distraction, because Upanishad Sayadaw, he says, this, for example, when we are living in this hall, and huge rain is happening, so if the roof is not leaking, the floor will not get wet. But cross currents can happen through the windows, and then still the middle of the house will get wet. So you have to close it. If it is so, water net coming from the top and the sides, and likewise, if the mind and the noted object come closer, there is no chance for thoughts to creep in. There is no chance or space for you to listen. There is no room for the bodily pains to be entertained. So more and more closer, they will be automatically cut off, and you can see more and more of the beginning, the middle and the end of the primary object. Meanwhile, less and less noting. So this is the most critical place where you would say bye-bye to your sensuous world, and you are going to enter into the materialistic world. So the moment you go into the materialistic world, you are maybe occasional noting, but more and more you with the primary object and less with the distraction and the hindrances. And even if you are to learn the samatha system or concentration meditation or the peaceful way or samatha way, first jhana, it is with 5 jhanic factors, vitakka, vichara, piti, sukha, ekaggata. That means even in the first jhana, you have to have little noting, otherwise you can't keep up with the primary object that you have selected. Even you absorb into the object, vitakka, vichara, piti, sukha, ekaggata. When you go to the second jhana, you drop vitakka, vichara, or noting, and the discursive thoughts are dropping. Otherwise, second jhana is no more, no piti, sukha. So therefore, as far as this tool, noting is there, you can't entertain the rapture and the pleasure because you are engaged. So when and where situation is mature, you do away with vitakka vichara, your mind naturally feel frills and thrills and light and the light perception, everything, because now things are happening. So they are dropping off of this noting or labeling and feel the gladness, rapture, these kind of thing. It's a kind of shifting of your mental background. Many are happy to do away with this vitakka vichara and go to the piti sukha or rapture and the pleasure. But it is not a science, it is an art. We have to leave aside the vitakka vichara and how to make rooms for this piti sukha to happen. So this place, this area is a kind of between two worlds, sensuous world and the materialistic world. So one has to go 100,000 times to the materialistic world and come back to the sensuous world. Again go to the 100 times to the again go into the materialistic world and come back, and then you understand there's a kind of a skillfulness, kind of appropriate technology to note up to this point, and whenever the maturity sign happen, you do away with noting, and still you are mindful to see whether object is face to face. So when this is happening, if you do not know where to stop, and if you are not stopping at that time, what are the consequences? And instead, if you continue throughout, what are the consequences? You can learn theory. But doing at that time, you can't give. No, your teacher is not there. You have to do it. Your theory is there, but if you are not appropriate in the dosage, the time, very difficult. So, in interviews, often this happens. People are sometimes vehemently noting, end up with a headache and no meditation. And they say, I am so enthusiastic to get enlightened in this very sitting, but I can't. Noting. And other people says, I know all the theory, therefore I never start noting, because noting is like a Montessori business. At the Montessori classes only we learn letters by sounding. Now we are advanced. So therefore not necessary to use noting. So they fall short of the target because of single technique. It's single technique, yes. But when to use and when not to use, very difficult. So my example is, when you are driving in a car, you just start the car and then go for the idle running. And when the other passengers come, you enter into the first gear, and then you must know how to release the clutch without knocking to that whole chunk of iron to get the momentum. And when you are going in the first gear, the amount of fuel for 1 mile is so high, because it is picking. And if you are to run the whole trip in the first gear, you can imagine how much fuel you have to burn, and the speed is very low. And after a certain speed, you have to go to the second gear, depending on the load, depending on the angle, depending on the engine capacity, and your experience, so you have to understand out of the first gear when to put to the second gear. No one can write technical writings when to put it. If you're on the up climb, it's a different issue. If you're in the down, different issue. If you have a heavy load, different issue. So therefore, if someone is waiting the next Buddha to come and teach you how to put the first gear into the second gear, sorry. He can't do it. You have to do practically and understand second to the third. And when and where you are hit with the mountain, how to put into the heavy gear. Many people are not very upset with so much of gears. They are asking why bloody fellows can't make a car with a single gear. So very easy. But no, the engine and the thing, fuel saving, everything, appropriate, the gear has to come. So exactly now, I'm sorry, nowadays you don't have that kind of system. You have the automatic gears now. So they are still the foolish fellows, or I would say lazy bones, still can be drivers. Well, if you can remember, there was a double clutch. Early vehicles, the lorry, they have the double clutch, and then only you have to enter the gear. Now, not single clutch, automatic clutch is happening, but I am taking very old age. I have never driven a car for last 30 years. So maybe I am very old age or belongs to the last generation. Whatever may be, changing from one to the other, if you do not know, not only once, 1,001 times. Then only you will understand when up to how much energy you must develop to go to the next gear or to put into autopiloting. And this putting into autopiloting, some people are completely frightening. It is phobia. They are kind of a people controlling everything. Perfectionists, moralists. They never think about letting the machine to run. And other people, so much of fear to do experiment with, so they are asking teachers, see handbooks, when to change the second gear to the third gear. So likewise, handling how to learn, how to make use this vitakka vichara, and when it is serve the purpose, do away with them and go to the other. This is the what point, the nipaka panya, and that otherwise you will never see common characteristics, only you will get bogged down in the natural, individual characteristics. You will be ever meditating, but no progress. So therefore, if someone to really digest whatever may be object, you get it, the beginning, the middle and the end, and it is 40 or 11 facets, or whatever it may be, and once it is come, it again go more towards the common characteristics. And the second area or the second example is, today if you all can remember the number of questions, this is not the giving away or leave aside with the vitakka vichara, the total in-breath, out-breath disappears. Not the noting disappears. Noting disappears is the first hurdle. And if you are skillful, then you can understand the breath become very calm and tamed, and it is slowly, naturally going into the bare minimum. That means you are driving the car in a very fuel-efficient way. Then the breath ceases. And when that happens, how to behave, how to handle it, the mindfulness with object and mindfulness without object. So that is the way we have to put into words. You try to get the breath instead of the varietal entertainment. So it is also a hell of a task or challenge. Suppose that you get it, and what happen is, if you are to meditate with the open-minded, choiceless awareness and evenly suspended attention, you may little do meddling and kind of thing, and breath will be disturbed and kind of thing. After a while you understand, breath start to calm down. And then it comes and says, no breath. And still you can say, I am not dead. I am not unconscious. I'm not sleepy. You are in the space odyssey. No reference point. And definitely you get into an uncertain area, so novelty happens. So when it happens, usually I ask two questions. With all your difficulties and all your skillfulness and all your effort and past experience, you manage to get the breath in face to face. Now it is slowly disappearing. You know that how to monitor that also. After that, if it's a blank area or space or least frictional area comes, which one you like? Mindfulness with object or mindfulness without object? So someone has to think and give an answer. Some people, those who know the idea of solitude, idea of contentment, they say without object is better. But uncertainty. You can't mark me and not me. Everything dissolved. And you must be so much of boldness and prepared to say that without object is better. Therefore, some people say, no, losing the object means losing of the mindfulness, losing of the concentration. So I do force breathing, or I open my eyes, or I get up and go, because the object lost. Or otherwise, whenever there is no object for such people, they fall asleep. Mind slips. So these are very clear personality traits. When it ceases to exist, you become excited, or you go prepared for this lack of object or space. The particular yogi's impression, his value judgment is very crucial to give the next piece of information or instruction. But many usually never writes in their own way or with their own rights in the paper or in the interview report, so you have to ask individually. And when and where someone is happy with no object, then you have to ask, when you are in no object, do you know you are in no object? Hell of a problem. How do you know? If there is no reference point, so it's a kind of a mystical way. At that moment, your concept and your reality become very volatile. Things appear like a concept at a time, or you see some sounds, you hear some sounds or lights or kind of thing. You don't know it's a mind-made or it is a real light. Some people wipe their eyes and see no light. And again when they close, again the light. And some people says, I hear that Sutta is chanting, this one is chanting, and that sound, this sound. Some sounds are happening. Some people say jerking of the body, swaying, heating, heat bubbles, cold bubbles, heaviness, lightness happens. So whether it's a mind-made or not, you don't know. So this area, therefore whenever the object is disappearing, all these kind of things going to happen. Therefore some people develop phobia to go into that. And if the person who is instructed, if the person is going prepared, he understand mano pubbangama dhamma mano settha manomaya manasache pasannena bhasativa karotiva tato nansukamang vedi chayava anapayini. The Buddha says, at that moment it's more true, everything is, the mind is the forerunner. Mano pubbanga, mano settha, mind is the supreme, and everything mental or mind-made. Which is a concept or reality, it is depending upon you. If someone says, I am in a uncertain ground and volatile situation, so they start vomitish feeling and nauseatic, moving of the body and heat, cold, all the kind of thing happens, that everything indicates you are not ready for this novelty, you are not ready for this unknown area. It is natural. So you must have the faith. You must have your precepts intact. You must have the mindfulness intact. Then the Buddha says, when you come to that, please check whether it's a result of your practice or an accident. Whether you are more in the comfort zone and less the tension and the frustration, or you are with more tension and more frustration. Only two things. Only thing you have to understand, it never an accident. You know, you start with the sensuous pleasure or sensuous world, and then you selected your primary object, and primary object at the beginning gross, and then subtle, and then subtlest, and then only you come to this situation. So therefore it is not given by a Santa Claus. It is your practice. And when you come there, if you go prepared, you can see no frustration, no tension. So if you can't check it at that moment, you completely lose your practice, develop doubts, develop uncertainty. So it's a kind of a mental test to see whether you're qualified to go for higher knowledge. So supreme knowledge, it never give without a test. Not only once, 100,000 times. But the most crucial thing is the first hurdle. When you go prepared, no fear. If you go unprepared, ever you are in the problem. So therefore, the commentators, they say, this is happening for very skillful and endowed disciples. Once you've gone into a first Arya Jnana or Sotapatti Jnana, again it will never happen because you know it. So therefore, at that moment, you are overestimate extremely or underestimate you in extremely. So therefore, you must have the association with the noble friends and preparedness, 1001 your past mistakes. So that is called Nipaka Panya. If you are not going to run a risk, if you are not a risk lover, you will never go through this neck, this cervix. And it is the human right, according to my understanding. That is what you call the human rights. That's a human. We develop this situation whereby the stage so-called sensuous world gone, the stage or foundation so-called the materialistic world gone. Now we are in the no sensuous impingements or materiality, and you are in a blank. You know the blank only when you contact or re-associate with some other objects. Then only you know the past few minutes there's nothing. Otherwise you can't be aware as you have known nothing. So these are the areas in our human mind we never explore. According to the Western psychology, it is called the unconscious. So now you, with mindfulness, you are making tunnels from the conscious mind to unconscious. And again come back to the conscious. So Sigmund Freud put it, a tip of the iceberg. Tip of the iceberg is the individual characteristic. But tip of the iceberg is only 1/9. Whole iceberg is 9 out of 10 is underwater. It is upside pushing. That is why the cap is over the water. So you measure only by the tip of the iceberg, but the story, the majority is under the water. So when you are going to start from the tip of the iceberg and go submarine and level, and that is quite a strange thing, quite a bold thing. So when that happens, whatever the knowledge you have may or may not help you. It depends on your attitude. The Buddha says, on that sense, he is the first ever human being at that situation took the proper decision. What is the proper decision? Let it happen 1001 times. Again and again. It's called anupassana. Repetitive application, that is what you call research. Once he has seen, he has associated, but he do it again and again. Of course, you can't do it, but you can facilitate it. And when it is happening, you are the person going to get the confidence. Then confidence you can't share. Because it's happening in a completely different combination. So Buddha tried to communicate the maximum on that moment, but you must be qualified. You must have the understanding of the disadvantage of this sensuous world. And you would have already taken steps to do away with that. It must also be successful. with the help of a matter or object of meditation. Now you must understand how to monitor when it is becoming less and less or subtle and subtler. When that happens, everything becomes volatile. Everything becomes slurry, flux, energy. Sometimes it appears like a light, sometimes a sound, sometimes a smell, sometimes like a taste, sometimes like a tactile sensation. No responsible, they are playing like anything. So under such circumstances, maintaining of your faith, maintaining of your, you keep intact with your precepts. Whatever it is volatile, your precepts are intact. And the last challenge is to maintain the mindfulness. Then you are qualifying yourself. You will say, even at the deathbed, mindfulness never leave me. This is a very good rehearsal for micro-level death. So many people are not even happy to listen. So death is such a bad omen. So without knowing that, how can you develop the Nipaka Panya or appropriate technology? So you can do it only with your resources. You can't test with others, and others can't stop you. If you say that I can't meditate because my husband is bad, I can't meditate because my wife is bad, I can't meditate because my boss is bad, bullshit. You don't know meditation is, and you don't know how to monitor it. And when you are monitoring, you see it is such an adventurous thing, such a rejuvenating thing, such a vital energy it is having. And you feel the wise people. They are not happy with the non-knowledge. Non-knowledge is secondary. I mean, you must have it to understand the rational knowledge and up to apply and communication and the grammar. Present is good. But whenever the meditation happening, I am specifically vipassana happening, you are always going to unknown area. The basic hindrance for that is neophobia. You have fear of unknown, fear of new. So it is coming with evolution. We are confined to our habitat. We feel secured in our clan. We feel secured with weapons. So that is why we are learning and ultimately accumulating. More and more you accumulate, you are more and more deprived from this Nipaka Panya. So therefore, this Nipaka Panya, you can't talk in plural terms. Not for dozens, not for gross, not for two people. It is unique to one particular person. These are the two things, even before the Buddha, people were aware of. They had some Rupajanic successful people and Arupajana successful people also. But with that only, the Buddha taught, even you have traces of this being and how to jump over, so to say, the other teachers and other disciples go on to the end of the diving board. It is little jerky. They had the fear to jump into the water. The Buddha is the one, not only went into the end of the diving board, he put a somersault and jumped into that. A frog jump into the old pond, plop. That's what the Zen Buddhism says. Other frogs are looking backward and backward, considering what is the way, what is the temperature of the water, how is the height. I say, old frog, old pond, can I get a degree by jumping? No. They never jump. So you confine to the same old shore. So there, no one can take responsibility. But the Buddha, setting example, he says, when I prescribe this, when I explain this pragmatic knowledge or appropriate knowledge, no one can, but you have to venerate me, respect me, live under me, or independence of, live in dependence on me. Not that they are dependent upon me because I am eat little. Not that I am happy with whatever the robes I am contented with. Not that I am always depending on the Pindapata. Not that I am happy with whatever the dwelling I have. Not that I am happy with the solitude. But how to put into use, how to make use this little eating capacity or ability. How to make use this simplicity in clothing. How to make use this simplicity of livelihood. How to make use this simplicity of dwelling. How to make use this solitude. By itself it is doing nothing. You have to use the appropriate way, and then you are a genius. Because your problem is created by you. Your entanglement is due to you, entanglement. So, disentanglement is unique to you. So, one person recently writing an email, he told, the exam in the human existence is very difficult. Many get failed because they copy. They try to copy what they are doing practice. Nothing. Other persons, there are some theoretical connection, but your application, you can't copy others. We can share, of course. The sharing is just for the confidence. But you have to be a risk lover, run a risk, and with due responsibility, even if it is go wrong, I know, I can bear it up. If it is a success, still I am not going to be elated. So this is the way it is happening. So Buddha says, beyond that level, I can't help you. I have taught you, given you, but if you do not like to experiment it with, or direct touch, going to get the direct touch, by learning theory and become Buddhist monk and living in the forest, won't make much of a problem, maybe some external problems, external expression, but not inside. So therefore, listening to that and associating Buddha, we must understand we are the very little handful crowd on the earth doing this noble quest. So therefore, if we wish to continue this dispensation, it never happened due to our past honor. Each and every time you have to earn. So Lokamudra used to say, even if you are a monk with 20 years of seniority, people will not venerate unless otherwise you earn then and there, the present moment. Even if you are a beginner, just by giving the label of the beginner, you will not be the beginner if you do not know how to maintain the present moment, how to balance it, or tightrope walking. So, I hope this will help you to do experimenting within yourself, make sure early groundwork is okay, time is appropriate, and then try. Then not try, strive. And then do little bit of jugglery with the full responsibility. When it goes wrong, I am ready. Even if it's going correct, no problem. And then the Buddha says, even the Mara get amused. Not amused, bewildered when you are doing this experiment. So hoping and wishing for you to do that, I would like to sum up today's talk. Thank you very much for listening.